Why are the Hands of Abaddon trying to gather the Anathame daggers, one of which started the corruption of Horus? A dagger of this type was also used to kill Horus by the Emperor. Who are they targeting with it? Spoilers for The Hand of Abaddon by Nick Kyme. The Hand of Abaddon are meeting inside a Blackstone fortress. The 8 shards of the anathema are collected, and each is placed into the flesh of the supplicant. On terror, Inquisitor Rostov searches the Grand Librarium. He seeks information on the anathema dagger. He finds an account of it, written by Rebirth himself. After near terror, he meets Inquisitor Greyfax, who, though from a different ordo, has an interest in the hand. She says that she can't offer him a fleet due to the Indomitus Crusade, stretching forces across the Imperium, but she can offer him allies. Rostov goes to gather them. One, a sister of silence. While trying to find her, he encounters the kin, who have a traitor navy captain with the mark of the hand carved into the cultist's flesh. The kin won't hand him over, but when the Inquisitor says name your price, the leader of the kin's interest is piqued. Karl Vutrud and Rostov talk. The kin need fuel and she pushes him for a little extra, and a greedy glint in her eye arises at that point. He agrees and gets the traitor in exchange. He meets his sister of silence, Serenial, who, like Bequin, has a cuff to switch on and off her null abilities. He means to use her against the cultist. The Inquisitor tortures the cultist, invading the traitor's mind. He then asks her to turn off the limiter cuff. She says he should leave, but Rostov needs to be there. After several times, the Null Maiden's abilities wear down the cultist, and Rostov gains knowledge from the cultist, who dies during this for his heresy. After Rostov sees a space marine, White Consul Lord Messinius, who promises a ship and greater resources if Rostov can first locate the hand. The kin Vutrud seeks the Mother Lode, as the Votan had decreed to her to find it, to get out of her current state of destitution. Her forces go to its location and find a Blackstone fortress, but that is not a derelict to salvage. It was active. They fight briefly and the kin lose several ships. She orders her ship to warp plunge immediately. With a rogue trader, they journey to the Stygian Guild. The Sister of Silence and Rostov are to whom I'm speaking about. And as promised by Messinius, other ships join them, and this small fleet find the Blackstone fortress. It engages the ships allied to Rostov. They lose whilst he's on the rogue trader's ship, and it tries to get close. Throughout the novel, a character called Yang is rising through the ranks of chaos. She's courted by the Blackstone fortress, the Hand of Abaddon residing, and she is allowed into its heart. It called to her. She felt its pain, and the hand had tortured it, and it craved release. It exposed its weakness, its heart and mind, as one to her, its inner darkness. Meanwhile, the Sister of Silence finds Rostov. The ship is wrecked and the Blackstone fortress had gone into the warp. The sister, as his armour is removed, sees how badly Rostov is tainted with chaos, and perhaps how little life he has left. Then around the ship, signatures come through. It's the kin, the Blackstone fortress defeated earlier, and a second agreement is made. The kin get exclusive rights to use the fortress after it's been taken down, and Rostov gets the ship he's on fixed. He agrees. And after they use the kin's technology, it lets them track the fortress. They find it and engage, trying to get close and get people on board. In the initial agreement, the fortress does not use its Immaterium-powered beam, so perhaps this is after it's been taken control of. The Astartes lead the boarding parties, led by Arios. The cultists his fortress meet are easily dealt with. The Imperial guard follow in his wake, and Rostov follows with his sister companion, who now keeps an eye on him and his chaos corruption. As they penetrate deeper, the Space Marine's passage is cut off as the Blackstone fortress stops their means of escape. Black spears tear out of the obsidian reflections around them, killing the Astartes. Cicero believes they must have been triggered by some defence within the fortress. Comparing the deep scans the kin had made to his surroundings, Arios sees things have changed. He sensed they were being herded. He finds a place that is an abattoir to chaos, with their sacrifices and their sigil, and then revealed are the traitor Astartes, led by, he must have rolled low when he was choosing a name, a follower of Khorne called the Butcher King. How generic. They fight. Yen is told she must enter the darkness of the fortress and kill with her blade. Intent is important, and what happens must be offered to the gods to please them. After this, she is told the fortress will die, its animus extinguished. The idea is to pull the Imperium's eye towards them, so that others might move into place. She's told her reward will be apotheosis, and she stepped into the black heart of the fortress, on the wings of the sword of the damned. There she raised the blade and plunged it down into the mass of darkness. She felt its weakness, and when that well was empty, the fortress was inert. She came back out of the well and felt the power of chaos. Augury, aligned to chaos and on the ship, tells her she will be a priestess of the god, and Yang can feel their power, and she saw a vision of a throne in flames. Meanwhile, Arios, the Astartes, and his fellow Marines fight and slaughter more cultists than the traitor Astartes, and he finds himself facing the Butcher King, who says, "Your skull will adorn Khorne's throne." The Butcher destroys the Astartes' bolt gun, so he uses a thunder hammer. Arios lands 2 blows with the hammer, one into the traitor's chest, the other shoulder, but it caught a counter blow and is parried when a further strike tries to be made. Then he manages to strike the Butcher King's knee to bring him low, and as the king bellowed for his god to grant him strength, Arios said, "They're not listening," and smashed his skull, ending it. The other traitor Marines were picked apart, and they notice the fortress feels dead. Rostov and the sister and guard face a plague lord, and a guardsman who's been favoured by the Emperor throughout the course of the novel, to be honest with you, lights up. She's called Kesh. She causes the plague lord to wither and blacken, and then as she feels the Emperor within her, she leads the forces to the throne room of the Hand, where her moment of sainthood faded. There were 8 thrones set around the dark chamber. The Astartes Arios is drawn by the light and joins them. It's there Rostov realises they have been used as bait, and he also sees that light from the guardsman, the Emperor's light, has caused him to be healed. The corruption has been purged from his flesh. They realise the kin will be swooping in to take what remains of the black stone fortress. Elsewhere, a red corsair, Herek, has the shards in him. It's one referred to earlier in this summary. 8 parts of the anathema. It was part of his pact, willing sufferance for the prospect of something greater. He is declared a vessel for the power of the sacred octade and the eightfold path, the blade of Horus's rebirth, the bringer of illumination, the shards of Erebus, anathema. And I just, to add a little context, I think the blade of Horus's rebirth is when he is reborn to be aligned with chaos. It's nothing deeper than that. Each splinter was then pulled from Herek's body. It was a painful process. Herek is told he can choose its shape, and he decides on a sword. Dark metal shall be amalgamated to form the blade. It shall have a hilt of cursed iron. A black sapphire shall make the pommel unbreakable, cut with the essence of never-born ichor. It's the anathema reborn. It's dubbed colour, as in something that might cull or take life, I believe. And once forged, the blade was filled with malevolence old and new. It's dubbed a weapon to slay God, and Herek finds himself thinking of Rebute. It's only him thinking about it. It's not said to be Rebute, that it will be targeted for context. And then he finds that he himself will not be its wielder, only the means of its creation. The blade is to fall to the sorceress Yang, who has proved herself. And as the novel closes, the restored Rostov speaks with Khal Vutrud, who says the fortress will restore her honour and coffers. That is no small matter for her kindred, a debt old that will not be forgotten. After the conflict, 3 of the 8 Hand live. Yang says she'll be the first. So my thoughts on where this might go in brief. Rebute feels like low-hanging fruit, no offence to that great Primarch, but it feels low for Care to spend so much time on reforging the dagger to just take him, when I think he could be taken out easily by other things. I can't see how they would reach the Emperor within that one final novel, so perhaps the Star Child. This is the compassion the Emperor casts from himself. So long as it exists, there is hope for humanity. It's in the really old lore back in the Rogue Trader days. We know in the end of the Death Part 3, the Big E casts that out of him so that he can face Horus and do what needs to be done. So that ties in nicely. But who is the Star Child? Barring a new character rolling in, I wouldn't say it could be anyone, to be honest, other than the Imperial Guard, who has that saintly aura. And if you want to know more about the Star Child, click here.